A very good afternoon to everyone. Sorry for the 2-3 minutes of delay. We're just starting with the session. Um, Good afternoon to all colleagues, professionals from various industries, chartered accountants, and dear friends who've joined for this webinar. Myself, Kishore Iyer, I am an assistant manager with Shah Associates LLP, and I'll be your moderator for this session on Future of Internal Audit, which is co-hosted by Shah Associates with DPNC Global LLP. Just to set out some context, internal audit, as we know, is a field which has evolved and its perception has changed drastically, especially over the past decade. From being a mere compliance tick in the box audit function to becoming the management's eyes and ears at the ground level, we all have witnessed how the significance and relevance of internal audit has changed, which is strongly driven today by the organization's need for a strong governance and a control framework in today's dynamic scenario. But when we talk about evolution and changes, do we think that the change or evolution ends here? Absolutely not. For internal audit, it's very important that we keep up to pace with the emerging areas, emerging risks which come our way, the technology requirement in the IO ecosystem. That is something, again, which is important. And there are so many other aspects which will and are emerging on a day-to-day basis, which is going to happen indefinitely. So the objective through this webinar is to touch upon these areas, to understand what are these key emerging areas which we talk about, what are the stakeholder expectations and how are they changing or evolving with the changing times, and other such aspects which would help us internal auditors to gear up and take this next challenge and turn it rather into a scalable opportunity. To answer all of these questions and share their practical insights and their experiences, we have two seasoned internal audit professionals with us, Mr. Kalpesh Panchal and Mr. Arun Pasricha. I would like to take a couple of minutes to just briefly introduce them and share their profile with you all. So first, I would like to introduce Mr. Kalpesh Panchal. So he's a qualified chartered accountant and with certifications in CISA and DISA. He has over 15 years of experience in audit and assurance with a specific focus on internal audits. He's handled various types of assignments across different sectors, from process reviews to forensic audits, mystery audits, fraud risk assessments, and IFC audits. He's currently working with Shah Associates LLP as an associate partner. He's also spoken on the subject of internal audit in various forums and seminars organized by internal audit standard boards and various study circles and branches of the WIRC. And he's also contributed an article on revisiting anti-fraud compliance program, which was published in Afternoon DC. So welcome, Kalpesh, sir. And
thank you, Kishore.
Yeah, and the other speaker which we have today is Mr. Arun Pasricha. He is a qualified chartered accountant with over 15 years of experience in risk consulting and corporate governance, and he expertises in internal and operational audits. He's worked and handled several assignments which are in the nature of internal audits, cost optimization reviews, business process improvements, business diagnostic reviews, forensics, and so on across a wide range of sectors. He's currently working with DPNC Global LLP as a partner, and he heads the risk advisory division. He has also conducted many webinars to educate business owners on operational efficiencies and other such topics. He's also built diagnostic tools for helping the MSME clients. And he's also written several white papers for CA fraternities and the organizations which he's worked with in the past. And apart from this, he's an active, he participates actively rather in social services, and he spends a lot of time volunteering for NGOs. So welcome, Arun, sir.
Thank you so much, Kishore. Thank you.
So again, I would like to thank both of our speakers for accepting this invitation and taking out the time to share, I would say, a collective 30 years of experience which you all have with all of us on this very relevant topic on internal audit. So over the next 1.5 hours, what we'll be doing is we'll be having an interactive panel discussion where I'll be posting certain questions to you all, and I would like to get your thoughts, your experience, your insights on those topics. And towards the end, we would have about a 15-minute session with our live audience wherein we'll take up some questions. So for the attendees, you can post your questions during the session as well. There's a live chat box wherein you can put your questions, and towards the end, we'll definitely look back and try to answer as much as possible in the limited time frame. So with this context set, I would, before we get into the questions, rather, I'd like to get the speaker's initial thoughts on this topic of, internal audit and what is the future of internal audit. And before we go into the future, how have you seen internal audit evolve to date in terms of technology, the expectations which has changed, the relevance, and so on. So maybe Kalpesh sir, you can start.
Sure, Kishore. Thank you for detailed introduction. When I think about the future of internal audit, few thoughts come to my mind, and I see what happened in last couple of decades, the way the technology and business environment it changes, the regulatory requirement changes, the complexity in business increases, and based upon that, the requirement from the client also increase. One basic things which I noticed is previously which we are doing the audit, which are document-centric audit. Now it is a completely data-centric. So this one particular important aspect we should notice, and we think that in future also this is going to be a big challenge and the opportunity at the same times. One way the requirement, the complexity, and the nature of the business increase, the requirement of industry-specific expertise also increase from business side. So only maybe the experience of only CA or is not just one thing which is required, but you may be required some additional qualification experience also, so that you can benchmark and give value additions to the client in terms of benchmarking and provide the best practice which is prevailing in the particular sector. So let's say for example, in case of manufacturing or you can say any division, there is always a IT is involved, the software part is involved. And without understanding the software, you can't do justice to your work. So this is a basic requirement is there from the client angle, that whether your staff is well equipped with the skill set required to data extract, the manipulation, and make sense out of the data. We all see that the data is the new oil, right? But if the oil is not extracted, there is no value. The same way the data, if it is not properly mined and it does not make any sense for the business decision, there is no value to the data also. So we need to understand how we extract the data, do the proper mining, and use the technology which are available and make sense out of that data and provide the some decision making sense and analytical analysis to the business, which they help take this forward and provide the some insight to it, and this help their business making ability. So, and what currently they want is they want us not just to provide the assurance, they want us to take as an advisor. I give you one practical example of one of my client when we have done the P2P review, and end of the this assignment, when we are discussing with the MD of the company, they informed that during the exit meeting that my lots of employees saying that my ERP is not useful, they are facing lots of issues. And because our staff, which we have deployed, they are well equipped and they understood the ERP package. We know that the ERP is not an issue. Issue is the people. The ERP is not properly actually implemented. The configuration is not properly done. And based upon this, our experience and our observation, we have given this suggestion to the company, to the management, that they should not replace this ERP, and they should continue with this ERP, but there are some modification and customization is required, and they can get the same result which they are going to get the result with the new ERP or any other they are thinking of. So this way they saved actually crores of rupees, I tell you, and any system to stabilize like a big ERP at least take 2 to 3 years. So lots of time also saved. So they want this type of advice when you are reviewing their process and system. So my take is that the future is in future we have to take the advantage of this technology and tools and provide the relevant advice to the business owner, to the company, and become the partner of their success.
Thank you, sir. I see that a lot of focus of your initial point was on data. So I'm going to come back to you after I get Arun sir's thought.
Sure.
Yes, Arun sir, please can you share your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kishore. So I totally agree with Kalpesh, because in today's scenario, if we talk about where, especially considering the events in the last 2 years, there is so much volatility in the market. Business environment, if you see, is changing so rapidly. There are new regulations which are coming into picture. So there are a lot of places where even the new businesses are emerging, or the new business models are emerging. Even at places, the new ways of working are emerging. So, with this background in mind, internal audit is somewhere becoming a need of today's society. Because if you see a couple of years back, and if you see now, there are a lot of times the new risks are also coming into picture. Like, for example, we didn't hear about cyber crimes many years back. I mean, there were a few cases, but if you look at today's scenario, the number of cases are shooting up like anything. So if you also look at the number of frauds which are happening with data, the privacy compliances which are coming. So the new kind of regulations are actually like really changing the entire market and the business environment at the moment. So with this background, even the field of internal audit cannot operate in the same old traditional manner. Yeah, where, earlier the focus used to be on accounting, on documentation. But if you look at now, I mean, we can't go with the manual methods. So as an internal auditors, each one of us also has to leverage the technology. We have to adopt the new practices in the market and understanding the new risk, how even in the systems, those risks can be mitigated. So, it's a time when we have to actually, as an internal auditor, move with the organization in this changing time. We have to keep up with that pace. We have to evolve ourselves. We have to align, adopt ourselves, innovate, and even reinvent ourselves to this changing dynamics in the market. The stakeholders' expectations, I think, from each one of us as an internal auditors has also changed over a period of time. Yeah, so somewhere now the expectation is also to give them more insights, give them more value in the lesser time. So, the other day I was reading newspaper and it mentioned that this time in which we are living right now is in fact the time of the 4th industrial revolution. So, because this is the time when the new technologies are coming into picture. There's a digitalization happening. There is artificial intelligence, and all these are changing the business landscape altogether. So with this in mind, I think 3 things are very important. And I think the 3 words that come to my mind for internal auditors is absolutely very critical. One is technology. Second is data. And third is automation. So, talking about technology, I think we as auditors have to, we have to leverage this technology so that we are not only able to do the audits, but in a better, smarter audits, in a better manner. More smartly, where we can not just focus on a small coverage. Using those technology, we can even do 100% coverage and able to give more better assurance to the stakeholders. Second, data, my dear friend Kalpesh has already talked in depth. So, we all understand that this is a very integral part of internal audit. And the idea of looking at the data is not just looking at the past historical data, but to derive at certain insights from that data, which will be helpful for future decision making. So that's why I think data analytics is again the future of internal audit and very integral part. Coming to the last third point of automation. So, where there is so much digital transformation which is happening across industries. Yeah, many of my clients, I think, even though when I look at 3 years back, they were not thinking about digitalization. They were very happy with the way they were working. But I think post-COVID, when I see, they really feel that, yes, there is a need for digitalization. There is a need for automation in many, many processes. And wherever, there are these MSMEs even are applying the automation, the entire processes are getting changed. And we as the internal auditors, again, cannot look at the same old risk assessment of the old manner in which they were operating. Since their processes are changing, the controls are also changing. The new risks are changing. So I think we have to keep up with that pace. So I really feel that there is a need for new thinking, new skills, new capabilities for us as an internal auditor to develop. But at the same, having said that, I'm also very, very glad that our internal audit fraternity has already been thinking about this from a very long time. Yeah, there are so many platforms, so many sessions and webinars which have happened in the past, because this has been the focus. Not only there is awareness about it, but somewhere there is also adoption of such technologies happening by internal auditors to add more value to the stakeholders. Because, at this time, like Kalpesh also mentioned, we are not just the auditor. We are now becoming the partners to such organizations for their business growth, for them to achieve their business objectives. So to conclude, I think the future of internal audit is definitely bright. And it's not only bright, but it is a need of the hour. And this need is only increasing with every passing. So that's why I think we have to keep up with that pace and move forward with the time. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Arun sir. I think to echo your point, many a times what happens is we go to clients and suggest the best industry practices, but the point is now to introspect whether internal audit is coping up with the best industry practices and changing with the evolving time. So I'd like to go back to Kalpesh sir with a specific question, since he spoke elaborately on data. So sir, if you could just touch upon the point of the significance of analytics specifically, and how tools, or with some examples of tools, of course, which organizations could use in today's scenario to, whether it be reporting or analytic purpose, whatever will come useful to them.
Sure, Kalpesh. Kishore. There are lots of tools available in the market. As Arun speak about the technology and data, one of these data analytical tools we can use for internal audit purpose. I would like to touch upon one of the analysis done by the McKinsey. They mentioned that the more than 50% work of the audit can be automated. Now, if you divide your complete work, what you are doing throughout your assignment, and if 50% of the work is possible to automate, you can imagine how much of the 50% time almost you are saving on the assignment, and you can quickly turn around the assignment. And one of these things happened through data analytical tools. So the data analytical tools, what they do exactly, they interact with your ERP, your accounting package, and extract the data, do the required changes in the data, and provide the visualized dashboard, which is dynamic. So this dashboard become the starting point of the audit. Right now, what is happening, you are extracting the data, and most of the time you are formatting the data, and based upon that, you can draw your opinion. But now this change going to be shaped. It will become the start of the starting point. you have the data, you have the dynamic dashboard. Now you can choose the sample from those trend analysis. Now exceptional is there. It is already extracted, provided by this data analytical tool. Imagine how much work going to be easy. And the most part now the your time and effort is required to do the best use of those technology. So I would like to mention the couple of the data analytical tools right now available. One is you can use the dynamic dashboard also from in Excel. This is a basic one we can use. Second, you can use the idea software which is available. Then Power BI also very powerful tools. It accepts 100 types of more than 100 types of the files. So you do not need to do the data clearance and formatting, all those things. It will be taken care by the data analytical tools. So your energy will save on that part. And these tools are not very expensive also. And there are lots of videos are available, and it is continuously this software are updating on month-on-month basis or on year-on-year basis, and the new functionality is developed, and it provides really good results. And so what I'm suggesting that we should start from the optimum utilization of this Excel first. Then we look out the other software which are available for data analytics. And based upon that, we can improvise our internal audit process by saving the not only the time and effort, but providing the rather than sample based audit, we can do the audit of 100% data. This is the one of the best uh, 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 benefit of the data analytical tools. Okay. Right now, what we are doing that we are just selecting the sample data and doing the analysis and provide the and draw our opinion. But the right now it is expectation from the management to why not do the 100% audit rather than just do the 5-10% extraction of data and doing the audit and forming your opinion. Because when you want to make a business decision, you can't rely on 10 to 15% samples, right? So it gives the confidence to the management also that you have done the 100% audit, and based upon that you are providing your suggestions. And one of the best part of those this data analytics tool is that it maintains the audit trails. So like Excel or other software, it is difficult to identify which are the master file, what different type of analysis you have done. But in this data analytics tool, it is they maintain the logs. So it is very easy to understand what changes is done in the master file. And whenever if there in the regulatory or any inquiries come, you can show that this is the master file, these changes are done, right? So I think it is very useful, and we should adopt those data analytics tool step by step, because one is a technology, other is a people, right? The adoption of the technology from the people side also important. It is not everybody is not used to with the software, so you need to provide the training to your staff, right? And you need to see that they use those tools on consistently basis, and you have to monitor them continuously. And you see that the wherever you are using, you can provide these assurance to the management that we are using these tools, and based upon this analysis we have carried out, and based upon that we are forming our opinion or providing our suggestion or based on this analysis we have done. But that client is also appreciated. Further, the even in case of acquiring a new client also, these tools are very helpful, because they client also get as assurance that there is a proper method we are following, the proper tools we are using, which is required for that particular process. So all in all, I can suggest that we should step by step basis, we should use and continuously upskill our data analytical tools and provide the best assurance and the service to our client.
Thank you, sir. Arun sir, I would like to ask a question which always comes to mind. And in fact, we have one question in our chat box as well regarding that. A lot of times when we speak about data analytics, there are some hesitations or some apprehensions which people have, especially small mid-sized firms. One of the example could be the cost of automation. So would you like to throw some light on this aspect and how much of it is a myth, and just your insight on this?
Yeah. So I think I can really understand where this is coming from, because that's a normal myth which is carried by a lot of MSMEs. Having said that, data analytics in a word seems very complex. It seems like a very complex field, because maybe those who are non-experts, when they look at data analytics, so there's a perception that we can't understand what's the science behind that. So, when you don't understand something, there's a normal hesitation to approach that. And there could be many questions that we may start asking, why not to do that, or whether to do that or not. So if you really talk to people, I think there are both good myths and there are bad myths, which are emerging while we talk to people about data analytics. But if the companies continue to hold themselves to those myths rather than looking at the facts, this can actually hamper the business in a long term. So, while we understand and we look at, as an internal auditor, the implementation of such tools in some of our clients or within our own team also. So the two most common myths that I have seen, maybe I like to cover those right now in the interest of time. The first myth, generally is that data analytics is too expensive. Yeah, the first question, anyone asks us when we talk about data analytics is that how much will it cost? So this is always on the back of the mind, because the cost is a very important parameter and the factor for making that decision. But I must tell you that it's actually a myth. It's a very common myth, because when we think about data analytics, sometimes we think about that there is going to be a large IT team, or there is going to be numbers of data scientists that we have to hire to be able to do that. But it doesn't have to be that complicated, especially now, in the post-COVID times, where a lot of companies have understood the importance of data analytics. And there are so many tools and solutions available in the market. And because of this competition, they are actually coming at a very reasonable cost, very affordable cost on an even per license cost basis. And if I talk about MSMEs, they don't have to invest so much on the infrastructure right in the beginning. There are also some smart infrastructure options which are available. I'd like to give you one of the examples where the public cloud platform can be used to store the data and run the analysis. You don't have to buy those expensive devices to run those data analytics. So and you don't have to just focus on only increasing your server bandwidths. It's a misconception, because there are ways in the market to be able to still do that at a very reasonable cost. Even when I look at, we undermine, the importance of MS Excel. Yeah, it's something which is available so readily on us, and we understand, okay, how to do the analytics. But even a lot of new emerging data analytics functions are available in the new version of MS Excel. And the kind of functions which are there, which helps you to also perform the data analytics of an advanced level. Even learning is not expensive these days. The certifications are coming either at free cost or at a very, very reasonable cost, where anyone who wants to learn data analytics can also do it very easily. So in my view, I think if you really look at the kind of insights which are coming from that data, and that is helping the clients to make a better decisions and have better profits in their firms, in the companies. So somewhere, in turn, that cost maximizes the ROI. Yeah, the benefits in the long run, they actually exceed the initial time and cost investment that we put in. So that's why I truly believe, I think it is a myth, and we can open up our mind to look at it. So talking about this now, coming to the second myth, which I have very frequently heard from people, is that data analytics is only for the larger companies with big data. Only they need data analytics. It's not needed by the MSME sector, or where the data is very less. But the truth is that the small organizations need it even more. Rather, in my view, the small organization would remain small unless they leverage on such insights which are given by data analytics. So this becomes a very integral part of their growth, very important tool for meeting their business objectives. So, so that's why not just the larger organization, even the smaller organizations can have a very wonderful use of data analytics. And when I also talk about data, it's not about just the volume of data. It's not about just the quantity of data, but the quality of data determines the kind of insights which come from those data. So it has nothing to do with volume. Even if the data is less, but you really need to derive value out of that data, which can help you to take a better decisions. As a promoter, as an owner, as a management person, one is constantly taking those decisions. So those decisions can't be taken without facts. And those facts, those insights come from these data analytics. So that's why in the end, I'll just say that, we must not just look at the myth, but focus on facts. And as the organizations, we have to open up our mind to explore and really see what kind of a data analytics is possible, what kind of a value it can offer to our organizations. Yeah, thank you so much.
So, Arun sir, actually, I'm going to come back to you with another question, but I think in the interest of time, we should move away from this topic of data analytics, because I think it's a session which we should have by itself, because there are so many aspects to it, and that there might be a lot of questions around it. So maybe that is something we should definitely look forward to in another session. But I want to go to another topic, which is an emerging area. And I think you would relate to this topic considering your experience and your time volunteering with NGOs. I want to touch upon the topic of ESG. So this is something which is definitely an area emerging for chartered accountants, be it internal, statutory, or advisory professionals. So, but one of the questions which a lot of chartered accountants have today is how internal auditors can, add value in this ecosystem. So firstly, if you could help us understand this ESG space and how internal auditors can add value, I think that would be helpful.
Sure, Kishore. So, since you touched upon this topic, ESG, I was reading about this a couple of months back also. And so to understand the background about why this came into view and why there is so much focus on ESG right now. So we understand that there is so much climate change which is happening, the environment degradation which is happening, and this is becoming a global concern. So even, the traditional expectation from the organizations were about financial growth, the financial stability. But if you look in today's scenario, there's a shift now. And the shift is that more than financial stability, the focus is now becoming on sustainability. Because, we are moving towards a world where success is no longer measured only by finances alone. So it's very important to look at that, how the organizations are contributing to ESG. I hope we all understand ESG. It stands for environment, social, and governance. And it's a very hot topic on the board agenda right now, because board really wants to assess that how the organizations are complying to ESG, how they are not just focuses only on the business products and services, but ensuring that how these products and services are sustainable and safe. And also, I think that the great focus is on the human capital, where how the well-being of the human beings is considered, not just looking at the profits of a company, how the human rights are held and promoted by the company. So, and not just the employees, but how in the entire value chain, there is a focus on contributing back to the society. So, in fact, earlier this was voluntary, but now I think in 2021, SEBI recently gave a guidelines that with effect from this financial year, which is 20 to 23, it has become mandatory for the top 1,000 listed companies. So these top 1,000 listed companies, they have to give a disclosure in their annual reports about ESG. And of course, the other companies who are not the top 1,000 companies, they can also voluntarily make these disclosures and work towards ensuring these ESG goals are met. So coming to your, another question that you asked, that, okay, this is the background, but we all are here as internal auditors. What is my role as an internal auditor in this? So, I really feel that we as the internal auditors are also a catalyst, but at the same time, the independent assurer for the management and the board and the stakeholders that ESG goals are met. So if I think about the way we do audits, so in 3 stages, I think it's very important to focus on ESG. The stage 1 is about the planning stage, where there's internal audit planning and the risk assessment when we do. At that very stage, it is important to understand what are the ESG related risks and add those risks as a part of your audit program. And understand, I think there's an entire team should understand the background about this and think that how ESG should be applied in this particular industry. What are the risks related to those? So I think one has to really put that thinking cap, do brainstorming to identify those risks and make them a part of this program. The second stage, at the time of the field work, when we are doing the audit, it's very important to see whether the processes in the company are complying to this ESG reporting. At the same time, that there are controls to ensure that these processes and these risks related to ESG are mitigated, and they are continuously monitored. They are operational continuously. It's not just for the sake of reporting, but they are actually followed on the ground. So in the time of field work, I think it's very important to ensure to look at whether there is a governance structure planned around this or not, whether there are policies around this or not. What are the measures taken by the company to ensure these ESGs are met or not? So coming to the last stage, the reporting stage. So when I say reporting, reporting to the stakeholders, the Institute of Internal Auditors, recently published a paper, and it talked about that how the role of internal auditors is so essential for ESG reporting. And they really focused on this point that how we have to ensure that whatever the organizations are reporting is accurate or not. At the same time, we have to validate that information. And we have to also look at whether the accounting treatment of that ESG is done properly or not. The impact is properly taken care of that or not. Because ESG is going to impact some of the international accounting standards as well. Yeah, not just that, but even ICI has recently also, there's a social audit standards which are launched by them, which have to be complied by all the organizations. So as an internal auditor, we have to give that assurance to the management and the board that that these standards are being met. The company is following those processes which are leading to the compliance of these standards. So in the end, I'll say that ESG should not be just seen as a tick box thing. It's just there's some compliance which has to be met. So let's just at the end of the year put a tick box around that. I think it's very important that it should not be just on papers, but should be followed in letter and spirit. This theory should turn into action. And then I think the organizations will become the organizations which are contributing back to the society, because ultimately they exist because of the society. So it's very important to give it back to the society. Yeah, thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this detailed explanation. I'd like to get in Kalpesh, sir, here. Sir, so one of the next question which comes to mind is, now that we know what is ESG, what do we do today, or what does an auditor, internal auditor do today to be equipped to handle this emerging area and to take it up as a practice?
Sure, Kishore. So 3-4 things come to my mind when I think that what internal audit can contribute to the ESG space. One thing we need to first equip ourselves and study what are those guidelines and what required to comply with them, so that we have that understanding. And otherwise, I think we are during the audit, we are doing the review of their processes, the SOP compliances. Those skill is relevant as well when we are doing the review of the ESG, because wherever the company implement the ESG, they have to modify their processes, system, their SOPs. So in that way, also we can help the company to implement them. There are lots of courses are available, whether it is even institute also provide the certification course on ESG. And there are other CFA institute also provide. There are other MBA institute also there which offer the course on ESG. And we can take those knowledge and upskill our skill set, and we are the right, I think, other skill set we have as an internal auditor. Because if you do the submission which needs to be done to the regulatory authority, there are lots of details which are mentioned, which are qualitative in nature, not financial figures. So we are in a right position to check and validate and provide the assurance to the company, so that there is no error in those submission, and there should not be any non-compliance or penalty in future due to such errors. And as I mentioned, there are lots of courses are available, but we have to push ourselves and acquire those skill set and suggest that to the client that this skill set we have, and we can provide the consultancy service in this area. And today is actually a World Soil Day, 5th December, and everybody knows how the importance of the soil. Our 85% of food requirement come from the soil only. So we should not restrict ourselves to just compliance purpose, that we can provide this review and do the checking of those whatever filing is done to the regulatory authority, but we need to see from the broader angle. Today, the ESG rating is used for investment purpose. If your rating is good in ESG, the bank and financial institute offer you the loan at a lesser rate. So those aspects you need to understand, and you can leverage those risk rating and acquire the borrowing at lesser rate. This is one of the advantage. Also, there are a company like I like to give the example of the Apple. Right, they have discontinued the offering the charger with their mobile phone. Right, so some of the company get benefit from the ESG complied. When they complied, they will get the benefit also out of that. So crores, millions of rupees saved by the Apple due to discontinuation of this charger. And there even this ESG rating also increased due to this. So this is a way you can suggest such things to the client, which is create the win-win situation for them. One way you are increasing the rating, the company become the ESG compliance, and one way they are improving the bottom line and top line. So I think as an internal auditor, due to the we have the knowledge of the process and system, and we are doing the review of their SOP compliances, we are the right people who can suggest become their partner in this implementation process. I think basic things, if we start with those understanding guidelines and acquiring some of these skill set, we can do that.
Thank you, sir. So one of the key takeaways from what you mentioned was we should not just take this as another tick in the box area which we need to cover. We need to get more into the ecosystem, understand what is exactly going around, and then be in a position to give value addition, not just a compliance assurance in this area. So I would like to go to Arun sir next. So sir, one of the points which you mentioned as a pillar of internal audit in your opening remarks was automation, I believe. So my next question is regarding another term which has come up, which is RPA, which is the robotic process automation and the machine learning. So for a beginner, how would you describe robotic process automation, and how do you think it is going to impact audits and the way audits are conducted in the future?
Okay. So, so I think there are two parts to your question. One is understanding the RPA in a little bit depth. And the second is how this can benefit the organizations and audit firms and for all of us as internal auditors. So talking about the first part, which is RPA. So like you mentioned, it is a robotic process automation. So it may seem like a jargon at the moment, but it is basically a software technology which helps to automate the business processes which are repetitive in nature, where there are rule-based repetition of task is happening. So human involvement is there of doing the same task again and again. How we can bring the software technology, this RPA technology, into picture, which can reduce this kind of a work, which is a rule-based, structured, but repetitive in nature. So let me give you some examples about RPA. So let's talk about a service industry. So, in a service industry, the customer satisfaction is very important. And there are call centers within, mostly in the companies, where they take customers' query or the customer complaints. And many a times, these customer complaints are a very common complaints. There are very common queries they may have. So how, using this RPA technology, we can, we can actually consolidate all the common kind of questions and queries, and on a single dashboard, the agent can see the solutions for that also, which were given in the past. So this, instead of reinventing the wheel every time, so it just summarizes everything, and the answer can also be given by chatbot. So another example for here that if we have to take, let's talk about data migration. So a lot of companies these days are implementing automation or they're implementing ERPs where they want to take the hard copy forms and they want to digitize them into the system, into those ERPs. So, a human being sitting and maybe reading every form, putting an entry into the computer, it's a very non-braining work. At the same time, it's a very monotonous work which may involve human error as well. But imagine if the same paper forms can be easily read by this RPA technology, and it can automatically feed that data in the system. So this will not only make it fast for those organizations, it will reduce cost for those organizations, but it will also improve the quality and efficiency and accuracy of that data which goes there. And rather, those people are better equipped to, rather than working on that mundane task, this will free those workforces to focus on a more value-creating task, where the time is more required, where certain decisions have to be taken basis that data. So I think this really helps the organization these days. Now, coming from the standpoint of auditors, if we talk about like how we can utilize this technology for our sake. So, there are many tools which are using this RPA technology and available for auditors, including internal auditors. And so which may do a couple of things. To give you an example, let's say they may automate your manual task, even automate your documentation, your checklist. So rather than you creating it every time, this can be automatic. This can be automated. Another example could be that this RPA technology will scan through the entire data and will give you those, will help you to identify those anomalies or high-risk transactions by spotting the patterns of any unusual payments which are done, any transactions or unusual activities which are taking place. So rather than you spending time to analyze on the data, you get a red flag directly from using this technology, so that you as an auditor don't have to waste time on the entire data, but can then focus on those red flags and try to get the answers and resolve those red flags. Another perspective is that this also helps how this benefit auditors, that we are able to analyze the complete volume of data, whether that data is structured or it is unstructured. So even if it's unstructured, this technology can analyze that data quickly rather than you spending time to first structure that data. So, and this also takes away from us taking only 10%, 20%, 30% sample. Using this technology, we can look at the complete data, 100% data. And this, this gives the insight to the management and to the auditors that looking at the past data, they can also give predictions and help the stakeholders about the future on which the decision making is dependent. So, ultimately, what I really believe is that this actually helps the auditors to do the advisory work, the real consultancy work, than getting lost in some manual task where not so much value is added as a human involvement. So I think in the end, if I give you one more example to understand this, how this helps the auditor. So let's say you have to review contracts. So you are doing an audit and you have to review the contracts. So one is that, okay, you have to analyze all, if there are hundreds of contracts, you have to review and then manually enter the entry in an Excel about each of those contracts. But using this RPA technology, you can extract the data from the contracts with the NLP tools and identify the relevant clauses. So for your accounting treatments, for example, what is the lease commencement date? What is the payment amount? When is the renewal date? What are the termination clause? So, you can automate all that. Even expenses, we can automate expense review, which automatically the duplicate invoices will be thrown, duplicate payments, incorrect payments, not as per the policy, any suspicious vendor. So the technology itself can give you those red flags, telling you, okay, why don't you focus on these specific data where there is a red flag? So in my view, it really helps us also as an internal auditor to reduce costs, improve efficiency, and focus on more value creating work for our clients. So in a way, in short, it is a great blessing, not only for our clients, but for us also as an internal auditors.
Sure. Thanks. So I would like to touch upon another aspect when we talk about internal audit today, which is with respect to the emerging frauds which we are seeing. A lot of times questions are now being raised on, what were the internal auditors doing? So from a time where statutory auditors were questioned, I mean, it's not long before now internal auditors come into the radar as well. So my question to Kalpesh sir would be, so there was a saying that, the auditor is a watchdog, not a bloodhound. So do you think that saying still is relevant today? Or do you think that internal auditors specifically, have a greater role to play in the fraud prevention detection ecosystem?
Yeah. So the today's requirement from the management as well as the government side, they have the expectation from the internal auditor as well to find out the fraud. But as per my opinion and as per the standard of internal audit, uh, the primary responsibility of the detection and the detection of the fraud is lying with the management. We as an internal auditor, we can reflect those uh, any cases or instances we have noticed that there is a possibility of fraud during the internal audit. We can come to notice to the management. It is not a direct our responsibility to detect the fraud during the audit. Uh, but it is definitely we have to review the internal audit controls, internal audit system implemented by the management, and we have to provide our independent opinion on that. And we should use our professional skepticism in terms of when we are reviewing the various documentations. We should not rely on the what one person is saying, whether it is properly documented or not, whether there is a proper audit trail is available or not, what rights, access rights and other things have with the senior management. Because sometimes what happened, the at senior level, they have lots of rights and access to the systems. They can, even though there are a control is there in the information system or ERP, but there is a override access is available to the senior management, and sometimes auditor may overlook. We have to see that this should not happen, and there is a proper audit trail available, and we should check whether there are any fraud is happening, or there are if something is come to us where we think that there is a possibility of fraud, we definitely highlight in our internal audit report. Few years ago, we are all aware about what happened in Satyam. There are a senior management is involved in the fraud, and it is next to impossible to see that internal auditor are doing the audit in so many years and they not come to know about this issue, right? So we should use our professional skepticism in this, and we should highlight the cases and any process labs. If, if, if there is any process lab or control labs is there, we should definitely highlight. I would like to provide some practical example here. In one of the procurement audit, we have noticed that there are quotation comparison is there, but the quotation which is taken from the vendor is not find very appealing. So we have asked some counter question, and after few inquiry and reviewing the more quotation provided by the vendor, it is come to notice that the procurement department itself preparing the quotation. Now, it is not a just you can review the use the just a tick mark approach and just review the whatever document provided by the client. You have to use your professional judgment, and if there is something wrong, you should do further inquiry and provide the whatever the your opinion. You can state that in what I mentioned. In this case, we have issued the flash report. It is an internal audit assignment. It is not a fraud or investigative assignment. But even though we have issued the report for that, I would like to mention one more example. In recently, we have done one assignment where we are doing the store audit, and we have noticed that their vendor onboarding process is not so robust. And when we come to know these things, we have compared the vendor uh, PIN number with the employee's PIN number. And we come to know that there are two employees who are also supplying the material to the company. Now this is a very simple exercise we have done based upon the loopholes we have identified during the internal audit. So why not, if you are capable doing this and just extending the little bit of processes if you come to know that there is something wrong is happening to the company, definitely you should highlight. But sometimes what happened, there are required skill set is not available with the internal audit. In that case, it is extremely difficult to expect from the internal auditor to find out the fraud. Sometimes the fraud are so hidden, mostly in case where the management is involved. So there are apparently all this approval is there, all the document are there, everything is there. It is very next to impossible to find out any reasonable person having the professional knowledge and expertise to find out that there is something is wrong. So in this case, you should not expect from any internal auditor to find out and reveal those fraud, because this required the required skill set. Like in case of something you not want to review the email of the employees, right? There is specific software is available where you can review all the email which are circulated by that particular employee, right? This software is not available with everyone. There are specific software required for the taking the backup of the hard drive, right? Even if you want to prove something in the court of law, there are a proper process need to follow. Otherwise, there is a lots of cases. There are question of privacy also comes, because if you collect the evidence in a wrong way, you are doing the illegal work. So we should take a balanced approach, and we should see that using our normal processes during our review of the internal control system, and whatever the area assigned to us, we should provide and use our best skill set and provide the whatever issue we can highlight it. Okay, but we should not shy away and saying that there is something is wrong is happening. You should do more investigation on that.
Sure. Thanks. So I'd like to go to Arun sir again for a question related to frauds. One of the emerging, I would say, frauds which we've seen these days is related to cyber frauds or the online fraud which we are seeing. So could you elaborate on what internal auditors can add value to the client, how, or rather the internal auditors can add value to the client in this ecosystem, when even we've seen that most sophisticated of the digital infrastructure which organizations have, that is being circumvented or that is being attacked. So what do you think as internal auditors we can do to add value to client in this space?
Yeah, the situation is really scary at times, I understand, because I was reading the statistics the other day, and I found that in India itself, it was reported by the National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal. So where the number of cases which in India are reported in Q2 of this year 2022 are 2.3 lakhs, and which is 15% higher than the previous year and 30-35% higher than the last year. So there is a definite rising trend of such cyber crime and issues which are emerging. In fact, a lot of companies, not just the small MSMEs, the large companies are also getting affected by the cyber crime. So in fact, even I was reading in the newspaper where the Red Cross, where we know that they have a very sensitive medical data. So how they were under an attack of cyber issues, and the 500,000+ records were compromised at that point of time. And not just that, even Microsoft was affected and impacted, and just for the sake of damaging their reputation, somebody tried to hack. So this is this was, of course, there was no financial loss in that particular case, but the reputation really comes onto a question mark at times when such a large companies are affected by cyber crimes. It's very important that how this MSME sector as well ensure that they have the proper controls in place to mitigate such kind of a risk. So talking about what these companies can do, to mitigate these risks. Couple of things is that one very important thing is that they must get a health check done. So health check to really check the vulnerability of their networks, their servers, their devices to external viruses or phishing attacks and other attacks. So because a lot of ransomware attacks we are listening are happening on many companies. So keeping that in mind, it's very important that they must perform a health check of their servers, devices, networks, and also know about their data. What is the critical data? What is the nature of the data which they have? What is the amount of data they have, to have a stock of everything in place? The second thing I think the company should also do is to train their employees. It's very important to educate so that they recognize these phishing attacks or such crimes, cyber crimes, which are possible. Because these days a lot of people are working from home as well. So they are using their own servers and Wi-Fi at home, and which can there is no guarantee that there are proper controls there in place. Another thing for the organization to keep in mind is to ensure that they limit the access rights of the sensitive information to only concerned people, and these are monitored on a timely basis. Whether those access rights are properly given, they have not been, they have been properly followed or not. It's very important to review them also on a timely manner. Another thing I think they must, as an organization, do to prevent from cyber crimes is to also update their security software patches in a periodically timely manner, because sometimes you may just snooze and procrastinate. But I think how proactively we can continue to upgrade the software, the security softwares, so that any new kind of cyber crime which is possible can also get covered and mitigated through that. Yeah. So, and apart from this, I think also it's better to have proper insurances, and also outsource if they don't have the talent inside, but they can outsource that to a reliable party where this can be, this cybercrime prevention can be done, and the review in depth can be performed by them. So I think from the company's perspective, these are some of the things that they can do. Now, if I talk about the internal auditors, like we all, like from our perspective also, just one or two, three things maybe to keep in mind is that I think we as an internal auditor should also be aware and understand that what are the recent, the most recent online and cyber frauds which are happening, and to try to understand the modus operandi behind that. So to really understand how this happens, so that we can also keep that in mind, and we can have the specific skill set, knowledge, and like the people with CISA, DISA, or the relevant background as a part of the team who can evaluate such kind of a risk while we are doing internal audits. So I think we have to expand our scope of ITGC, of the audit programs, where we are not just looking at some minor part of the IT, but also some of the very important areas where there is a possibility of cyber crimes. So having said that, I think I really feel that now, even for MSME sector, it is no more an option. It is a must. It is a must to ensure that they are properly safe. The data which they have is safe, secure, and there are enough controls in place to mitigate any kind of a cyber risk which they may be exposed to.
Thank you, Arun, sir. So we are at just 2 minutes to 5:15. So before we get into your closing remarks, I think there are a couple of questions, or I see a lot of questions on the chat box. So maybe we can just take up these questions. So the first question, if this is related to... Yeah, so I'll take this question. So Kalpesh sir, maybe I'll direct this question to you. So one of the questions, it says that are there any courses or any specific certifications which are relevant for internal auditors? And what are the other ways in which we can acquire additional knowledge?
Yeah, so there are posts from IIA is available, certified internal auditor. This is recognized across the globe. So person who want to make a career in internal audit, they should pursue this course. As we are discussing about the technology, we should, person who want to make a career in internal audit, they should do the CISA or PISA course. Uh, this will help to improvise the knowledge about the information system technology. So they can, whenever they do the, as I mentioned in earlier my conversation, that in every process there is a IT angle, the software is involved. So the basic IT related, if you have some knowledge, it will be uh, very good. And today's environment, as there is a role of technology increasing day by day, it is going for maybe the must to have a research degree. Even in case of if you are doing the audit of bank and some of those institute, there is a this degree is a must. So a person who want to make a career should acquire those degree.
Sure. So the next question is with respect to documentation, I believe. So Arun sir, if you could take up this question. So one of the participants has asked that since a lot of processes are now carried out through ERPs like SAP, etc., what do we do as internal auditors to meet our documentation requirements? I mean, like, how do we take check of whether we have kept the documents in store, whatever is required under the law?
Okay. So of course, as an auditor, we also have to meet the compliances. So I think we have to identify the areas where the documentation, which is like other than the or other than the system data, needs to be maintained to ensure the due professional care which is taken care. So I think we must be able to identify, okay, where the documentation is very much required to also comply with the regulations, even by ICI. Having said that, also because now the most of the controls are also embedded in ERP. So as an auditor, this doesn't takes away our responsibility to not see whether the controls are working properly in ERP or not. So we must also, within ERP, also look at the source of the data from where the data is entered, what are the documentation behind that, the access rights which are there to ensure that there are no unauthorized changes which are happening to that data. So I think as far as file retention and documentation, as per the compliances, we need to meet. But in the ERP also, it's very important to ensure that adequate controls are there, so that the documentation which is there in the hard copy is also reflecting in the ERP. So some samples and to check the controls in that ERP is very critical.
So the next question, maybe Kalpesh sir, you can take this up. This says that stakeholders' expectations are increasing. How does the internal audit team ensure that the service delivery is optimum and we meet the timelines and the audit fees which is proposed to us? So I think this is also a relevant question.
Yes, that's very relevant question for the all internal audit profession. And there is always a demand from the business to give more with less. So this is going to be happening in future also. So this is the only I think we can embrace the technology, and we see that how we can achieve by leveraging the whatever available resource we have. One of the things we have discussed in detail in today's session about the data analytical tools. This is the come to rescue in this time. As I mentioned, there are for 50% of the time we can do the automation, right? So if the 50% of work, if the auditors work get the automated, you can imagine the how much resources we can save. And this is the only way we can achieve the cost benefit analysis and provide the best optimum result to the client, so that and create the win-win situation for both of us, client as well as internal audit professions. Because the internal audit should not become a cost center. we always said that internal audit is a profit center, because what expense incurred on the internal audit, more than that, we can directly, indirectly provide the value addition to the client in terms of whether it is a improvement in the existing internal control, their system, or whether there is a direct benefit in terms of the saving of the expenses, or finding that there are any leakages in the revenue, or helping them to comply with the various rules and regulations.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Arun sir, another question. This is with respect to work from home, which I think you covered during the cybercrime related answer. So a lot of companies have gone into a hybrid or a full work from home policy. What are some of the key areas which we can cover during the internal audits?
So I think part of this I have answered, like what you also mentioned. Keeping this in mind, it's very important that what are the data security controls, the network controls, and the Wi-Fi controls the employees have at home where they are working from home in those scenarios. And a lot of tools are available in the market to ensure that data security is there, the VPNs are there, so that only the authorized access is possible to the data. So that's definitely there, but also from another aspect, from the HR and payroll perspective, there are for the work from home, I think there are some new guidelines most of the companies, the HRs have issued to ensure that the proper productivity is followed, to ensure that the work is managed properly. So I think as an internal auditor, if we can also look at this new kind of management of work which is happening, whether those policies are being complied properly or not. Yeah, so or there is whether there is a proper mechanism to ensure that also or not. So in case not, maybe I think learning from the best practices from another industries, we can always give recommendation to our clients how they can improve their policies around work from home. But I think these are two critical areas where we can focus as internal auditors, apart from some of the other areas. But in the interest of time, I think I'll just focus on these two.
Sure, thanks. Kalpesh sir, now another question. I think this is coming from someone from the industry. This says that any audit demands understanding of the business by the auditors. So from the training front, are enough trainings given to audit firms?
Okay, yeah. So of course, whenever internal auditor doing the understanding of the processes, lots of time also spent by the auditee, and this is a notional cost. We all need to consider that. But at the same time, we have the detailed checking notes, process walkthrough, which are available in our audit file, so that going forward, when we do the same process again, we should not take much time of the auditee, because the primary duty of the audit is not just to do the internal audit and cooperate in completion of your task, right? He is doing he or she is doing their work also. So it is definitely we should provide the training, and we should deploy the right kind of resources in whenever we plan any assignment. So this is a planning stage. When we assign any work, we should ensure that the audit staff which we are assigning to the particular client, they have the knowledge of that particular industry, the process understanding of the area which is going to be taking up, whether he has reviewed the last year files and understand the data or not. If possible, there should be a meeting between the team which has done the audit previously, so that they understand the what type of structure and organization and what different type of process they have. So this create a very smooth atmosphere during the overall audit assignment, and it saves the lots of time, not only the client but the internal auditor also. So
Right.
I think it will create a win-win situation for both of us.
So I think we have time to just quickly take one more question before we go into the closing remarks. So Arun sir, what are some of the emerging areas of practice for internal auditors? So a couple of them we've already touched upon, but if you would just like to summarize.
So, as an internal auditors, I feel the beauty is that we get to see the entire organization. So we are not just limited to only looking at the financial processes, but as a company as a whole, we are able to look at every single process, every single function, how they are function. In fact, whether the functions are functional or not, in a manner to speak. So it's very important. I think that gives us an edge to also work in some of the other fields which can add a similar kind of a value. To name some, like in terms of developing the standard operating procedures of the company, because we see the processes in internal audit end to end, and we also see those processes in a similar industry in different companies. So somewhere we learn that what are the best practices which are helping the organizations. So from those perspective, we can build those SOPs for the company, which ensures that wherever there are risks, we have already attached a control there. So I think as an internal auditor, that is one area which is very prominent for us. Other than, of course, IFC audits, where we look at the risk and we look at the controls, which is very much relevant for us. Some of even the fraud investigations, because generally we get into the details of why there is a problem, and we try to go into the depth of that. So that's one area. Even the due diligence assignments, where we look at whether, in terms of valuations also, whether this company, the books of accounts, the figures which are being reported are right or not. So to do that analysis, I think all those things are, other than, of course, IT audits, the cybersecurity audits that we just mentioned. So having the right kind of people on board, even ESG compliance audit that we just discussed. So I think we are truly equipped and already have that experience in place to be able to support our client in these areas as well.
So I think we just have another 3 minutes left. So if I could request both of you all to just, share your message to the auditors who are there, especially the Gen Z auditors, I would like to call them. What do you like to share with them, and what do you recommend to them? So yeah, Kalpesh sir, you can go.
Yeah, so currently we are $3 trillion economy, $3 trillion economy, and we are targeting to achieve for $5 trillion economy next 4 to 5 years, and almost 10 trillion in next 10 to 11 years. You can imagine what type of growth government is targeting, and the way the government is working and the business environment is creating. We do not find any doubt that there is no possibility to achieve this target. If you are in next 10 years, there is a 3x growth, which means there is a 3x opportunity. And if you want to make a career, you should prepare right now. What is in the future? I say you create the future, right? It is in your hand. Why not prepare yourself for the future? So just if you have the right mindset and you want to achieve the or make a career in this sector, there is a lots of opportunity available. You can write from the articleship. You can do the internal audit so that your mindset get developed. And over the period of time, because the internal audit, there is no specific practical training is available outside your articleship, right? So if you're from initial year, if you take the training in some of the chartered accountancy firm, you will, by when you clear your chartered accountancy course, you will ready to take this opportunity. So I wish all the young chartered accountant to become an internal auditor, future in your hand. Just take this opportunity.
Yeah, Arun sir, would you like to say something?
Very quickly to all the young internal auditors, budding internal auditors, and maybe the really experienced internal auditors. Just one thing that I think it's very important to continue to learn and continue to be informed and updated, because our clients heavily rely on us, And it's very important because as the time is changing, we also have to keep ourselves moving with the time. So, so keeping that in mind, I think it's very important to have a lifelong learn, not just we have learned and we have studied during a CA time, but now nothing is required. It's very important to every day read what's happening in the market. And so one quote, I think, related to this, which is very famous and I really like, it says that, anyone who stops learning is old. So irrespective of the age, whether it's 20 or 80, that person is old. But anyone who keeps learning always stays young. So I really feel that we must continue to learn. And lastly, I think I really feel that we have to move from a fault finding auditors, where the focus is only on finding problems and faults in the organizations and reporting that, but also we must see the same audits as an advisors, that what kind of recommendations I can give to my clients so that they improve these processes. So I think we must really become the partners with these organizations for their business growth. So with this, I think I like to end with Mahatma Gandhi's quote once again, which is my favorite quote, which says that, live as if you were to die tomorrow, but learn as if you were to live forever. So continue to learn, continue to grow, to all the young budding and all the experienced internal auditors, but keep growing, keep doing good work and adding value to our clients.
Thank you, sir. So I just quickly like to ask Mr. Varun Jain, who's the Associate Director with DPNC Global LLP, to just give his vote of thanks to both our speakers.
Thank you, Kishore. A very good evening to everyone. It has been such an honor to be part of this wonderful webinar. It was not only informative, but very relevant, keeping the current business scenario in mind. I'm sure each one of you have got a lot of takeaways and insights from this session. As an internal auditor, each of one of us share a responsibility to continue to add value to the organization by building new skills, new capabilities, and leveraging new technologies. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Arun Pasricha, Risk Advisory Partner in DPNC Global LLP, and Mr. Kalpesh Panchal, Associate Partner of Shah Associates. Both of you have given a thoughtful, provoking ideas in respect of future of internal audit, such as we discussed about data analytics, about ESG, about the robotic process automation. So, and also I would like to thank to Mr. Kishore here also for such a wonderful moderation of this event. Deepest gratitude to both the firms, DPNC Global LLP and Shah Associates LLP, for organizing this much needed session, which has benefited all of us. And finally, I would like to thank all of you present here for making the time to be with us today and helping us making this webinar very learning one. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you.